Birds of Prey and the fantabulous emancipation of one Harley Quinn. I'm just gonna call it Birds of Prey. Birds of Prey is the story of Harley Quinn, an infamous anti-hero turned wild from being a former psychiatrist. She's fresh off of a rough breakup with her boyfriend, the Joker, which prompts those who have been wronged by Harley Quinn to pounce at the opportunity for revenge, especially considering the fact that the Joker is no longer there to protect her. Harley has to handle that shitstorm, all the while avoiding the wrath of Black Mask, known as Roman Sionis, who's looking for a valuable diamond. If she gets that diamond to Black Mask, all will be forgiven, no one will be after her anymore, and we have our movie. Overall, I had a good time with Birds of Prey despite its glaring shortcomings. A script that defies all logic at some points is pretty forgivable by the time the credits roll. The film has a strong third act that's continuously picked up and delivered by Margot Robbie as Harley Quinn, who absolutely carries this movie. In addition, the friendships that Harley forms with other characters as this movie rolls along are endearing, heartfelt, and a lot of fun to watch. Starting off with what I really enjoyed about this movie. Margot Robbie crushes it as Harley Quinn. Margot Robbie brings a really unique identity to the character and makes her flourish on screen, which makes her a ton of fun to watch at all times. She's a loose cannon and does things that you wouldn't expect. Also, there's very little downtime in Birds of Prey. The movie is pretty much entertaining at all times and it really keeps the runtime going. Between the action, the plot building, and the development of characters, the film always feeds you something nice and new, which keeps the experience fresh and entertaining. And lastly, there's some entertaining relationships between the characters. Mainly in the form of Harley Quinn and Cassandra, they form a bond that's really genuine and really endearing, and it really makes you gravitate toward it and also support it. They're both predicaments of their own, and it's really cool to see two people who are in a tight spot find solace within each other. Especially for Cassandra, considering she is a younger kid who's maybe looking for a role model. Although Harley Quinn might not be the greatest one. Not only is the relationship between Cassandra and Harley really great, but the relationship between other characters comes into play as well. Other characters clearly care for Cassandra's well-being, which makes them a lot more likable and a lot more easy to root for. By having more likable characters, it just enhances the movie as a whole. And although a lot of these characters are inherently flawed, they have qualities that transcend those flaws and ultimately elevate the experience of the film. Now, what did I not like so much about this movie? Black Mask, or Roman Sionis, doesn't stand out as a particularly strong antagonist outside of the dialogue that he's given. Aside from one excellent scene that's given by Ewan McGregor, Sionis is written such that he doesn't actually do anything sinister in the film. He's an armchair menace that has everyone do his dirty work for him, and then he throws temper tantrums when he doesn't get his way. It shows a lack of poison control, which compromises the believability of him as a sinister antagonist, especially when the movie suggests that he's capable of so much. Without genuine hands-on action by Sionis, it's really hard to empathize or get on board with him as an antagonist, which creates a lackluster sense of tension that won't have you gripping your chair by any means. Also, there's very weakly sporadic writing in this film. A portion of the writing choices in Birds of Prey are illogical or make no sense. There are moments or events in this film that have very little for the audience to draw conclusions from, so the movie just decides to go ahead, spit out some dialogue, and explain everything. But that dialogue has very weird claims that make no sense in the context of the movie, and it can be really jarring and throw you off. It's just so distracting to hear these characters' reasonings, especially when they're just pretty much incorrect and just out of the blue. It's like the film had no idea what to do in order to speed it along, so they're just like, oh, we'll just throw in some dialogue and there you have it. That explanation just shows a lack of clever creativity and gravitas that just the movie could have benefited from. A lot of the reasoning just happened out of thin air and it just made the movie weaker in my mind. And lastly, this movie jumps around a lot. And it does so by hopping from one moment in time to another, backtracking, going back and forth. It gets really jarring and really distracting. And it's not really uncommon for movies to do this, but the manner in which this movie executes that device is just to its detriment. It happens too often and with really random intervals to the point where it gets jarring, distracting, and it really makes the film's plot confusing. You try to have to remember at what point in the story the movie's currently in or coming from, and then when it goes back, you just have to constantly context switch, which is exhausting. It makes the movie come across as trying too hard to be different. Friends, at the end of the day, I'm gonna have to give Birds of Prey a 6 out of 10. I thought it was okay and ultimately recommend seeing it. Friends, have you seen Birds of Prey? If so, what'd you think of it? You know where the comment section is. Let me know. Thanks so much for watching another Bankrupt Hippo movie review. If you like this, click right here if you'd like to see more. I've been Bryson. Until next time, have a great day.